Now, one thing you need to consider when you're compositing is making sure that both your background and foreground matches as close as possible. And here I'm going to be putting somebody into this environment. This is a piece of video footage. The wind's kind of blowing a little bit here. Trees are kind of moving. It's in a park. And then I'm going to be putting this woman with her hair's blowing a little bit, and she's got this veil. And this is kind of an interesting situation where if you don't have a really good green screen compositor or keyer, you're going to have a real hard time with this transparent area here. But we're going to use key light in After Effects here, and I'll show you how well this works. So I just come down to keying and then key light, and I'm just going to select the green. And we can see right away, we've got a really good key just on this material here. But let's look at our screen mat. We've got a little bit of bleed going on in here. So I don't need to take any noise out specifically. It might be a little bit there in the upper right. I may just bring that up just a little bit to knock that down. All right. But then I've also got some spill here, some green screen spill. So I'm going to pull the clip white down till I knock that down because I don't want her arms going transparent. We still have some nice control of her hair here. So let's go back to our final result and look and see. Okay, it looks pretty good there. So the problem here, though, is I can go ahead and do a RAM preview of a portion of this. And it looks like a composite. It looks like we've got video over video. And it's a little bit harsh, and to me it just doesn't have a nice warm film-like feel. So the first thing I'll work on is the background. So let me just hide her layer here. I'll go to the background, and I'm going to start with changing some of my levels on my color here. And I want to kind of warm it up a little bit. I'll lighten it up first. Lighten it, take some of the contrast out of it. And then I like to warm it up. So I'm going to bring a little bit of the reds, just a little bit in, and pull some of the mid-range of the blue out just to kind of warm it up. It's a nice warm summer day. So that's a good start. And then I want to give a little depth, a little separation between the foreground and background. So I'll come down to my blur and sharpen. I'll grab a little bit of the camera lens blur. And it starts off at 5. I may pull that down to about 3. I'm not going to get into all the different aspects and everything, shapes and everything on the lens blur. I'm just going to leave it at the default for now. And then I'll come back to bringing her back in. Well, she really stands out now because there's so much contrast. So I'm going to do some similar things with her. I'll bring in my levels. So I'll go to color correction and then levels. And I'm going to just warm it up a little bit, lighten it up, take some of the contrast out just ever so slightly. I don't want her going too light or too red. And I'm going to pull some of the blue up. So we go, actually we're bringing a little yellow in. And that just warms it up a little bit. And I may push the red down just a hair. There we go. So I think I might go a little bit lighter, just a little lighter, soften it up. And then I'm going to introduce just a little bit of the lens blur too to give it kind of a film type look. So we'll go to camera lens blur. And of course the default is really high. So I'm going to go to 1 and see if that helps lighten things up a bit. So overall, we should have a little more of a feel that this is kind of a film type of effect. It's a little softer, it's a little warmer, and the two elements do look like they go better together. One thing you can also do, which is kind of a cool trick, is see here on the blur radius, we've got a little stopwatch. Well, in After Effects, we can change things over time. So I'm going to click that on the first frame, then I'll come down to about, maybe about halfway. And I'm going to just type in 1.5, and I'll come back to the first frame, and I'm going to bump that up a little bit. Maybe like, oh, maybe that's a little too much. Let's try about 12. Okay, now let's do a RAM preview and see what happens. What this should do is give us an effect that we're doing a pull focus. And this is a really cool trick you can play in After Effects. Just over time, when you've got things separated on layers like this, you can actually change a rack focus effect in After Effects. And we'll let this render out. And it should still stay a little bit soft when it finishes. And if we really wanted to force that effect and make it seem really strong depth of field, well, we could do just the opposite and push that background out of focus more as we come forward. So here we go. And that makes just a really cool effect. So when you want to try to bring your foreground and your background together as far as the colors and matching everything there, you also want to keep them separated so that it looks like you used a camera to take the shot and not just threw something together in the computer.